I was gonna do it last night, and I looked at it, and I kept on scrolling and scrolling. And I was like, oh, I'll see what's about. I know why. It's just, oh my god, it's from last week. Bro, Senora. She leaves on Friday. No. Bro, the new teacher, she's gonna hate all of us.
All right, here, bell ringer for today. Describe Emily Rose's experiment and the significance. There we go. So that's what we finished up with. We're going to relate her experiment and Clever Hans with the empirical approach to psychology. So please fill this out. Dom, you good? Your iPad looks a little bent. Jeepers, what'd you do? Throw it off the ground? Is it working at least?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Alex, you working at Subway today?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yep. I saw Alexis there last Friday, and she was wearing that shirt, bold. So I was wondering.
Yeah, I ended up quitting it like a few months ago, though. They
Oh,
just never asked for their shirts back, so I'm like, okay.
keep it.
I don't think they can just like take it back.
And
What?
then, well, you know what?
Why are you doing it?
I was gonna offer if they wanted it back, but I kind of left on a bad note. So,
Or shouldn't I ask?
well, I'm not working there anymore. So,
It doesn't really matter what they're gonna do. Sue you for telling the truth.
well, the first things first. Our first manager stalked us and harassed us.
Okay, I don't hear any more.
Yep. And asked us the first time.
Stealing subs. Nah, just kidding. How we doing? How we doing? Good? Dom, did you watch last Friday's vid or tune in live? You did? Okay. I kind of figured, but I just wanted to ask. You keep up with the work at home or what? Challenging. What's up? Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, I got you. Life back. That's on the game this week with the Bills. I got screwed. Why are you mad? Probably Packers.
I got scared because it was 28-3 at halftime. Those were winning. They came back.
Yeah.
They're winning 32.
Family freaking out. The Dolphins won, so Jimmy's probably happy. Dang.
You're wrong.
What? Me?
No, I'm leaving.
Oh.
No.
Oh, I did pretty good, 40%. Yeah.
It was
No,
really
it's
to get like a 100.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting. You like it, Katie?
What?
Her experiment?
Yeah.
Thought it was neat.
It was kind of funny when the one lady, what the heck did she say? She essentially said, like, yeah, even though it's like fake, I still like it. It's like, what? Why would you change my name?
Yeah. Oh, is that with the placebo then?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. She's like, I want more of it. I want more of the sugar pill. We good? Do we need more time? Okay, one more minute. One more minute. Wednesday?
I forget.
WED, WD, NES, NES, day. WED,
Yeah, my
NES,
mom
day.
spelled
That's how I
WED
remember it.
yesterday.
WED, NES, day.
Can you start spelling these points?
Learn something
Remember
there,
this.
right?
I could not spell. What was the word that you could not
WED,
get?
NES,
I could
day.
spell because I could not spell
What's
people.
so funny over there?
I also couldn't understand the. That was really hard. I don't understand the. Like it was like I literally there was times where I was sitting at the table crying because I couldn't get it right. Dude, I was so bad.
But actually, I'm not laughing, but like I'm laughing.
No, they tried to hold me back in kindergarten.
That's kind
Oh,
of funny.
same. I need to take a test at like a different place.
All right, let's go over this, guys. So Emily Rose's experiment. Describe it. What was she trying to do? What was her hypothesis anyway? So her educated guess. What was her educated guess, you think? So we'll talk about this more tomorrow. Well, today, and then tomorrow this will be the bell ringer. But what was her hypothesis, her educated guess? Rooster, go ahead. Yeah, good job. So a therapeutic touch practitioner, if she couldn't see what hand Emily Rosa was hovering over top of, then they couldn't tell. Well, it would be less than what you say, 80%. I think it was 80%. They wouldn't be able to tell or understand which hand she's hovering over top of. Okay, good job. So with that, what was some of the variables she included within her study to make sure that these therapeutic touch practitioners couldn't see her hands? What was the biggest thing that she put in the way of the practitioner herself? Kinsley? Yeah, like a blind. Okay, so she put cardboard box pretty much right in front of her and the therapeutic touch practitioner, and she put a towel over top of their hands as well, so they definitely couldn't see what hand she was hovering over top of. All right, good job. So with randomization, we'll talk about that here soon too. What about randomization? How does she include that within her study? Randomization. I know I'm asking a lot here, but Katie?
She flipped a coin. Like heads would be left, tails would be right.
Yeah, good job. So the randomization would be how she flipped the coin, right? How she was trying to determine what hand she was going to hover over top of. So heads, right hand, tails, left hand, vice versa. I don't know what she had, heads or tails, but it was a 50-50 shot that she was going to be hovering over the left or right hand. And it was a 50-50 shot for the practitioner to know what hand she was hovering over top of, right? So she was trying to say, listen, if they can't see what hand I'm hovering over top of, these practitioners, this electromagnetic field, they can't detect it, right? They can't detect my energy fields or energy levels coming off of my hand or my body. All right, good. Okay, so she went through the study, right? And what was the percentage that came back that these therapeutic touch practitioners had was correct? For that one lady especially, it was like 40%, right? So it's 40%. So does that prove that her study's good to go? That these therapeutic touch practitioners can't detect, bless you, can't detect the electromagnetic field? What do we have? Nina? Why is that?
Because if there was a higher percentage, then it would be lessons as lower percentage. Like maybe they were just guessing and they
Okay, yeah, good job. So she was trying to disprove it and show that, you know what, they can't detect the magnetic field. They can't understand. And realistically, because there was some data representing that they did get it right, it's proven falsifiable. Okay, we'll talk about that here soon. So there is a chance maybe they can detect this magnetic field, right? But for the most part, it was a 50-50 shot. They could guess. I mean, if we do it in here, Alex, you could probably guess 40%, maybe even higher. Who knows? Maybe lower. You never know. But it just goes to show that maybe, using this theory, this empirical approach, okay, the scientific method, we can disprove some of these problems or these things that are happening within the medical field especially. But why do people use therapeutic touch? Okay, why do they go see therapeutic touch practitioners? What's the reason for that? Even though this scientific study kind of disproves their occupation, which is kind of sad for them, but Why do people go see these people, these practitioners? Lily, what do you think?
They said it like makes them feel better. So like they have like some.
Yeah, good job. So obviously, with people that are going through chemotherapy or going through some of these, these diseases that really don't have a medical treatment to benefit them, sometimes the best thing is just trying to get a lift, a motivation, right? And these therapeutic touch practitioners, if people believe that they're getting better, if they understand that I'm trying to do something, then hey, that's some sort of therapy for them, right? That's some sort of benefit to keep them going and understanding they're doing their best to try to alleviate some of the issues that they're feeling. All right. So again, her study wasn't to try to say that this therapeutic touch practitioners are that their job is worthless. She didn't say that at all. She's just showing that it's really hard to detect the magnetic field here, and maybe their occupation needs to be put to the test. Okay. And the pseudopsychology, the pseudoscience, if we use a scientific method and see if it actually benefits people, then, good for that. But for the most part, it's just issues that really can't be helped out medically. Is there any questions on Emily Rose's experiment? You guys enjoy it? I thought it was a pretty cool study. I thought, this fourth grader coming up with this idea to try to really show that it doesn't really work. I thought that was interesting, and we're going to relate it to the scientific method today. All right, so I'll let you guys work on vocab for a little bit. I know there's a lot of terms, so I want to give you some time to work on that. Okay, I'll play one song. How about that? One song. Meltdown.
How do you spell this? Yeah, no, then if it's article B, it's like a E icon. Mr. Bonner, which day is it that they're doing the Southwest
Take their what?
East Coast?
I don't know. I'll have to look it up.
I'm pretty sure it's Wednesday and Thursday.
Okay.
Wednesday and Thursday? Yeah, because like half of my class is going to be empty.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know. Thanks for letting me know.
I'm pretty sure it's Wednesday and Thursday.
Okay.
I think. But I hope I'm just finding out about this. You're a senior. It doesn't apply to you. Yeah.
Well, let me know about it.
You said junior and senior. No, I said junior and sophomore. Oh, sophomore. Oh, I think. I'm checking. But
Yeah.
you said something about it over the announcement, so I just don't remember what day it is.
I'll
It
have to
hit me
check
last
that.
year because my 90 class, the only people that will be there is me and Maria.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
And I want to know like what we're doing. 'Cause
All right, that's it. That's it. Okay, now I'd like you guys to go to your textbook, your online textbook. Going with it over it with you. Just make sure that we are still, yep, good. Okay, so online textbook, it's still under general information. Okay, I'm going to leave it like that so it's easier to find. I know now things are a little tougher to find, but go to general information, and then we will go over this together. So it's on page 36 in the textbook. Oh, I'm going way too far. Let's see what page it is here. There it is. 35. Sorry, 35. For some reason, my book's a little off, but that's okay. All right, Exploring Psychology. Who would like to read that? Who would like to read that? Okay, it looks like your hand's up, so.
What?
Your hand was like this on your iPad, so I'm like, all right.
That's 'cause I'm
Nice.
It's loading.
Oh, it's loading yet. Okay, who has it up? Who has it up? No one wants to even say it. Oh. Nina, do you have it up?
I'm
Oh, you're finding it yet.
what number is it?
So it's 47 on like the sheet here, but it's 35. Lily, go ahead. All right. Exploring Psychology. Do you act this way?
There are some chimps who, far more than others, constantly seem to try to ingratiate themselves with their superiors. Alyssa, for one, particularly when she was young, used to hurry forward and lay her hands on the back or head of an adult male almost every time one passed anywhere near her. If he turned toward her, she often drew her lips back into a submissive grin as well. Presumably, Melissa, like the other chimps who constantly attempt to ingratiate themselves in this way, is simply ill at ease in the presence of a social superior, so that she constantly seeks reassurance through physical contact. There is much controversy as to how the human smile evolved. It seems fairly certain, though, that we have two rather different kinds of smiles. We smile when we are amused, and we smile when we are slightly nervous, on edge.
Yeah, good job. So Jane Goodall, we all know her, right? Observing chimps and monkeys and no? You guys ever heard of her? Rooster, no. Oh my gosh. Okay. So she's famous for their study with chimpanzees and monkeys and performing naturalistic observations and how they're benefiting towards what we know as for these organisms, how we can relate it to people as well. And she was stating here with her naturalistic observation that Melissa, what was Melissa doing? What was Melissa doing? Chimpanzee Melissa. Katie?
More or less just like trying to make herself look as like unthreatening as possible.
Yeah, what would she do?
She would always like touch the head as they walked by, and it would like turn around, like look at her. She'd have like essentially smile at him to show that she's not dangerous.
Yeah, good job. So come to a point where whenever a male would walk by, she would just show that she's not threatening, that she's not going to cause any issues, and she's just going to let things roll and be respectful and smile, right? So that's where they believe to show that you're not a threat and that you're not a problem, that these chimpanzees are even doing that. I mean, in the hallway, I always greet everybody if I can, as I remember their names and everything, right? At the beginning of the year, that's what I do to try to remember names and just be nice, right? So whenever I see someone, I smile, ask them how they're doing. Okay, it's just to show that I'm not threatening, that we're going to have a comforting, relaxed time here in class. Right, Maria? Heck yeah. Heck yeah. All right, so I'd like you guys to read just the bottom here at 35 and finish up here at pre-research decisions. Actually, read that. Read that. Just stop at samples. Okay, we'll talk about samples a little bit later. So just a small section here. So 35, Okay, right at the top here at samples. Stop at samples. I know who Jane Goodall is now. Rooster. Tarzan.
Because the girl's name was Jane, right?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
You're
And
right.
it's in like a place called like where is it? Tanzania?
Is that where Tarzan's from?
We're gonna go with yeah. Oh my
Oh,
god.
yeah. Maybe check it out. Tarzan. I love Tarzan.
Where is
He must have got a bunch of splinters in his feet, though. Man, on days. Skating down those trees. They're just heavily calloused, I guess, right? Heavily calloused.
That doesn't.
Okay, all right. So with the reading, guys, so the first step of the scientific method, what do you got to do? What do you got to do?
Did you say scientific method?
Yeah. What's the first step?
Observe.
Yeah, you got to make an observation, right? Okay, with Jane Goodall, she said the best thing about studying and finding research is making observations. Okay, a naturalistic observation. What is a naturalistic observation to remember? Remember what a naturalistic observation is. We talked about that a little bit in the first chapter. What is a naturalistic observation? TC, go ahead.
We're watching somebody and you're collecting data.
Yeah, you're collecting data on someone in their own element, right? So someone in their everyday life, they don't really know that you're observing them, right? They're just performing their daily tasks, things that they do every single day. And you're just jotting down information and making observations on that person. Okay, good job. So the empirical approach, it really is a scientific method. Okay, how are you using data? How you're making observations? You're formulating a hypothesis, right? You're trying to predict the outcome. Okay, you're going through this experiment to find evidence to base and back your hypothesis to hopefully prove it as a theory. Before you do that, you got to replicate it, right? So we already talked about the scientific method. We went through it, okay? This chapter is just based off of research and how we can apply Emily Rose's experiment, Clever Hans, okay? And how we can apply it to that scientific method to better understand. All right, so trying to measure the information and try to find a solution of why people act, or maybe an organism, act the way they do. Okay, with Jane Goodall, I like that, exploring psychology, those little segments, just because it kind of presents what we're going to talk about and how observations are necessary in order to try to predict behavior and maybe find a solution of why these people act the way they do, and if there's a problem that may be presented, how we can try to solve it, these issues, or how we can try to prevent this behavior from conflicting with other things. So the first step, make an observation. We already know that, right? We already know that. You guys good with that? Can I move on here? You're still writing down. Okay. So psychology's main goal is to try to create a theory. Right? So try to develop explanations for behavior and mental processes. You want to try to have and formulate these observations and create an educated guess, okay, which we're going to talk about is a hypothesis. Okay, with a hypothesis, it always starts out with an if-then statement. Okay, if we blank, then we can prevent this behavior from happening. Okay, so a hypothesis, always remember, is mostly an if-then statement. Okay. All right, so a theory simplifies and summarizes facts. Okay, and we're trying to always push for that theory to happen. Okay, we're trying to use the experiments and variables that we're going to include in our experiment to try to prove a theory, try to prove our educated guess, our hypothesis. Okay, and with that, that's the first thing. We make these observations, and after we make these observations, we try to make an educated guess of how we can try to predict the behavior. Okay, how we can try to include variables into our experiment to make sure that, you know what, this hypothesis that we have, we're going to try to prove it as a theory. And our theory is an explanation based on integrated principles that organizes observations and predicts behaviors or events. Pretty self-explanatory there. Right, Rebecca? Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. You guys good here? All right, so a good theory effectively organizes a range of self-reports and observations, leads to a clear hypothesis, a prediction, stimulates further research, or can be replicated. Remember that you always replicate. You always have to repeat the study. You got to make sure that there's no confounding variables that might alter or skew your data. So good theory organizes a range of self-reports and observations, leads to this educated guess that we're trying to solve. Okay, remember the if-then statement, and is always trying to base for further research, okay, further analyzation of a certain topic that you're trying to create a theory for. Like I said, replicate. Gotta try to repeat it. So first step here is hypothesis, developing a hypothesis. So a hypothesis is a statement predicting the outcome of a scientific study or describing the relationship among variables in a study. So a hypothesis literally means a little theory or just an educated guess, okay? As long as you know it's just an educated guess, you're good. All right, so after you make your observations, you're formulating your hypothesis, you're making an educated guess of how we can maybe predict behavior or how we can resemble or reflect or correlate two variables. So an easy hypothesis that I can do is, let's see. If Rooster studies for his exam, then he's going to have a better grade, right? Okay, and how would I try to go through it? How would I try to prove that hypothesis? Yeah, good job. So let's just say your previous exam, you didn't study for it all, which, hey, you did a good job on the exam, so you did study, right? So let's say for some reason he didn't study at all the first exam, he gets a bad grade, okay? The data, I have the data to represent that, which I can't show anybody else, right, Rooster, unless you let me. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Now, he did really good on the first exam. It's not what I'm getting at. But for an educated guess here, so if he starts studying more, he's going to get a better grade on his assessments. So that's how we start our hypothesis. If Rooster studies more, then his exam grades, his assessments will be boosted, right? He's going to have a better grade. So then in chapter 2, let's just say I'm giving him all the materials. He's writing it down in his notebook. And chapter 2, let's just say he does a great job on it. He gets 100%. Then we can show, you know what, here's the data to represent that. Okay, we all know this. This is very self-explanatory. All right, it's a conspiracy. Look out. Conspiracy, got to prove it, right, Katie? Look at that guy down there. Looks like TC. Just kidding. So A Hall hypothesis must be testable or falsifiable, okay, to show that's either supported or incorrect. So falsifiability is just the possibility that your hypothesis could be false, okay, that your educated guess could not be correct. And the only way you're going to know that is if you go through the experiment, if you go through the step-by-step process, right? Okay, the only way you know that your hypothesis wouldn't work is if you go through the experiment, okay? You go roll through the scientific method, you replicate it. And it's not a bad thing if it's falsifiable, right? If it's false, okay? If it shows to be falsifiable, it's a good thing. It shows that you actually went through the process of the scientific method and you prove that it shows that your hypothesis wasn't correct. Which all you got to do is alter it, right? You got to alter it to represent your data. That's all. I remember in psychology and in college when I'd do a small study and my data showed that, my hypothesis wasn't correct. I'd always get angry. I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. I don't want to replicate it anymore. I don't want to alter it. Then I have to continue to do this research and find more data that represents my new hypothesis that I have from my old representative data. And actually, that's not a bad thing. Okay, it just shows that you follow the scientific method and that, you know what, there is a possibility that it could be false, that it doesn't work out the way you want it. And that's why we replicate things. That's why we go through the scientific method more times than to just try to prove it. It could be a theory, right? All right, so that's all I have for today. I was going to go over an operational definition, but we're running low on time here, and then we'll stop there. Does that sound good? All right, I won't give you any homework, Lily. Does that sound good to you? No, you want homework? No, okay, I was going to say. All right, so we'll talk about operational definitions more tomorrow. Okay, that's it for today. Is everybody good with a hypothesis? If-then statement. The only thing I want you to do right now is think of a mini hypothesis for yourself. So something that you want to try to study, okay? Something that you want to try to solve. So come up with a hypothesis that we can maybe explain tomorrow in class, right, at the start of class. That's all I want you to do, okay? It's not like you're actually doing any research for it. I just want you to come up with a hypothesis of how we can maybe solve a certain issue. So that's all I want you to do for now. Okay, for tomorrow, just make sure you have just a statement, just a hypothesis written down. It could just be really basic of following traffic lights or following the speed limit, okay, whatever it might be. Or, I don't know, quitting your job at Subway. I'm just kidding. That is it for today.